I picked up a stranger on the side of the road. I had no idea it would change my life forever. The first time I saw her, she was standing alone beside a broken-down blue pickup truck on an empty highway, waving one hand, while the other held a small backpack against her chest. I almost kept driving. Every warning I'd ever heard about picking up strangers flashed through my mind. But something about the way she looked, not scared, not desperate, just unbelievably tired, made me tap the brakes. I had no idea that stopping my truck that afternoon would unravel secrets, heal old wounds, and completely change the life I thought I was destined to live. My name is Ethan Carter, and until that day, my life was painfully predictable. I was 34 years old, worked as a mechanic in a small town, and spent my evenings alone in the tiny house my late father had left me. Most people knew me as the quiet guy who fixed engines faster than anyone else. They didn't know that I hadn't really been living since my parents died within 18 months of each other. Every day felt exactly the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. I convinced myself that routine was enough. That afternoon, I was driving home after delivering an old Mustang to a customer nearly 2 hours away. The sun was beginning to sink, painting the fields gold. Then I saw her. She looked to be around 28 or 30, brown hair tied into a messy ponytail. Dust covered her jeans, and one sleeve of her jacket was torn. I slowed beside her and rolled down the window. "You okay?" She smiled politely. "My truck died about 10 miles back." I walked until I found a little signal, but my phone battery died before anyone answered. "You need a ride?" She hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden." "You've already walked farther than I would have." For the first time, she laughed. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of laugh that sounded like someone remembering how. She climbed into the passenger seat. "I'm Claire." "Ethan." As we pulled back onto the highway, silence settled between us. Normally, I hated silence. With her, it felt comfortable. So I finally asked, "Where are you headed?" She stared out the window. "I honestly don't know." That answer caught me off guard. "You don't know?" "I left this morning." "Left what?" "My old life." She didn't elaborate. I didn't push. After 20 minutes, her stomach growled loudly enough for both of us to hear. Her cheeks turned bright red. "I haven't eaten since breakfast." I smiled. "I know a diner." She protested twice before finally agreeing. The waitress brought coffee and 2 burgers. Claire looked at the plate like she'd forgotten food could smell that good. I know. I mean it. I know. She looked down. "I'll pay you back sometime." I shrugged. Then someday, while she ate, I noticed little things. She thanked the waitress every single time she refilled the coffee. She folded her napkin neatly. She looked over her shoulder whenever the front door opened, almost like she expected someone to walk in. When we got back to the truck, she asked quietly, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you know anywhere cheap I could stay tonight?" The closest motel had closed months ago. The next town was 45 minutes away. I scratched the back of my neck. "I've got a spare room." She froze. "I can't." "You don't have to decide now." She studied my face. "You trust strangers?" "No." "Then why?" I looked away. My mother used to say people don't ask for help unless they've already run out of options. Claire didn't answer. 10 minutes later she whispered, "Okay." A spare bedroom hadn't been used in years. I changed the sheets while she showered. When she came downstairs wearing clean clothes she'd washed in my machine, she looked like a completely different person. Healthier, younger, less afraid. Over dinner she finally began talking. Not everything, just enough. She had been married. Her husband wasn't violent, not physically, but every conversation ended with criticism. Every dream she had was called childish. Every accomplishment became his. Every mistake became hers. It took me 6 years, she admitted. To leave? She nodded. I kept waiting for things to change. They didn't. They got worse. I didn't know what to say, so I simply listened. Sometimes that's enough. The next morning I expected her to leave. Instead, she stood in the kitchen holding 2 mugs of coffee. I made breakfast. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Over pancakes, she asked, "Does your garage need extra help?" I laughed. "Can you fix cars?" "No." "Then probably not." She smiled. "I can answer phones." The receptionist had quit 3 weeks earlier. By noon, Claire had somehow organized invoices that had been sitting untouched for months. Customers loved her immediately. She remembered everyone's names. She smiled with her whole face. Within a week, business improved. Within a month, people were driving from neighboring towns because that nice lady at Carter Auto made everyone feel welcome. Life felt lighter, for both of us. One evening, after closing the shop, I found her sitting on the porch. "You ever miss your old life?" I asked. She shook her head. "I miss the woman I used to think I was." "What do you mean?" "I spent years believing I wasn't enough." She looked at me. "Funny thing." "What?" "I think I finally met the real me." I smiled. "I like her." She laughed. Months passed. Somewhere along the way, she stopped feeling like a guest. She became family. She cooked. I fixed everything she accidentally broke. She teased me for never buying new clothes. I teased her for labeling every container in the kitchen. People started assuming we were dating. We always denied it, mostly because neither of us wanted to ruin what we built. Then one afternoon, everything changed. A black SUV pulled into the garage. The moment Claire saw it, every bit of color drained from her face. She whispered one word. "No." A man stepped out wearing an expensive suit. He looked around before spotting her. "There you are." She backed away. "I told you never to contact me." "You disappeared." "I left. You embarrassed me." Those 4 words told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't worried. He was angry. I walked beside Claire. "Can I help you?" He looked me up and down. "And you are?" "Ethan, so you're the reason." Claire spoke before I could. "No." He frowned. "Then come home." She stared straight into his eyes. "No." His smile disappeared. "You don't mean that." "I absolutely do." People had gathered outside the garage. He noticed. His voice became softer. "We can talk privately." "No, no." He sighed dramatically. "I've already forgiven you." She laughed. Actually laughed. "You still don't understand." He blinked. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm leaving because I'm finally happy." For the first time, I saw uncertainty on his face. He had expected guilt, fear, regret. Instead, he saw confidence. He climbed back into the SUV without another word. As he drove away, Claire collapsed onto a nearby bench. Her hands shook. I sat beside her. "You okay?" She nodded, then shook her head. "You were brave. Sometimes they're the same thing." She smiled through tears. "I think you're right." That night she cried harder than I'd ever seen. Not because she wanted him back, because she finally realized she never had to go back. The next morning she made pancakes. Extra butter, extra syrup. "I've decided something," she announced. "Oh?" "I'm getting my own apartment." I nearly dropped my fork. "Oh," she noticed. "You don't want me to?" I forced a smile. You deserve your own place. She looked at me carefully. That's not what I asked. I couldn't lie. I'll miss you. I'll miss you too. Then, she rented a little apartment 2 streets away. Close enough to walk. Far enough to prove she could stand on her own. Nothing really changed. She still came over for dinner. Still worked at the garage. Still stole my fries. Still laughed at my terrible jokes. Then one rainy evening, exactly a year after I picked her up, the power went out. We sat on my porch, watching lightning dance across the sky. I've been thinking, she said. That's dangerous. She nudged my shoulder. You've changed. So have you. No. She smiled. I became who I was always supposed to be. And me? You started living again. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Rain tapped gently against the roof. Finally she whispered, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you stop that day?" I looked out into the darkness. My dad used to stop for everyone. She smiled. "I think he'd be proud." I swallowed hard. I hope so. She reached over and took my hand. Just held it. No words, no grand speech, just warmth. It felt more powerful than anything either of us could have said. I turned toward her. "When you first got into my truck." "Yeah? I thought I was helping a stranger." She smiled softly. "And? You ended up saving me too." Tears filled her eyes. I was going to say the same thing. I laughed. "So we're even." She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I don't think life works that way." "How does it work?" "I think sometimes people cross paths because both of them are lost, and they help each other find home." A few months later, I asked her to marry me. Not with fireworks, not in a fancy restaurant, just on that same porch where we'd first admitted the truth. She laughed before I even finished the question. "You're taking forever. I haven't actually asked yet." "I already know the answer." "So, She smiled through happy tears. "Yes." We married the following spring in a small park, surrounded by friends from town. The waitress from the diner came. Nearly every customer from the garage came. Even old Mrs. Henderson, who insisted she'd known we'd end up together from the first week. Years have passed since then. Our garage is bigger now. Claire manages the office. I still spend most days under the hood of old cars. Sometimes, when I drive down that same stretch of highway, I glance toward the shoulder where I first saw a tired woman standing beside a broken truck. I always smile. People say one decision can't change your life forever. They're wrong. Sometimes it only takes pressing the brake pedal instead of the gas. One small act of kindness, one conversation, one stranger. You never know whether the person you're helping is walking into your life for a few minutes or forever. I picked up a stranger on the side of the road because it felt like the right thing to do. I found my best friend, my wife, my family, and in helping someone else find hope again, I found my own.